All right. So we're going to be reacting to a video. This was brought to my attention last night. It is a video by A F0xy Grampa titled MK1 is done. Long rant. So it is kind of a longish video. It's a 30-minute long video. So let's jump in.
You ask, do you still like the game? This game, it's like good in some parts and it's fucking terrible in others. Good is all the characters.
It's fucking. These fucking camels, man, are fucking killing me. I can't just. That's not how they sound, right? Like, that's not how they sound, yeah? Like, this is... It's fucking killing me, man.
This can play in multiple different ways. You can get creative with it. Obviously, the way that, like, the meta has evolved and all that you see people play isn't all that you can play, if that makes sense. So, like, I don't know, let me go.
It's not.
Go practice, right? Let's have a look, right?
It's not looking good.
So we'll take Katana for an example, right? So you've been watching me play Katana Lao. Katana Lao doesn't play the same as Katana Chameleon, right? They're just two totally different teams. Which also doesn't play like Katana Jax. All these teams should work. Or like Katana Janet, you see people play Katana Janet. Katana Sub, they all play differently, right? But all of this doesn't matter because Homelander Ferret exists, right? A Homelander Ferret is so strong that it doesn't matter what else you play. You need to play something. Like, this is when you're playing at this kind of level. You need to play something that can fight Homelander Ferret. And if you can't, then you probably just get slaughtered by like literally average players because the character is hand-holding. But the rest of them, even like the Cyraxes and the Havocs and the Sindels, right? All these things apply to them as well. Like, they could play totally different. Like Sindel with Motaro is not the same as Sindel with Lao, is not the same as Sindel with Tremor, right? They're all cool teams, but ultimately the game is run by what Homelander does. And people will try and argue, oh no, but it's T1K and Cyrax. But they'll be wrong because every single time, are you watching the tournament?
He's got the fucking plot. He's got the fucking plot outfit for T1000. Right. Now, I know what he's saying here as a professional competitor myself, in my imagination, right? I know what he's saying, and I've been saying this for the longest time, is that, like, I listen, maybe it's just naivety or ignorance, but I always thought that, you know, and maybe it applies to, like, the general sort of fan base, the general MK fan base or the tourists or whatever, that you should be able to choose any character with any other character and just, you know, you should technically be able to beat them. But what he's saying here, obviously, is that when you get to a certain level, like you're going beyond that point into that very sort of competitive level, I'm assuming here, that this is the team to beat, right? And therefore, at that point, it's like, well, what is almost the point of having some of the roster, right? If at that competitive level, what's the point? If you can't choose any other team to go up against what he's saying with Homelander, right?
Right. Homelander is the character that comes out to win for people when they don't know what to do. It ain't T1K. It ain't Cyrax. It's Homelander. Farah. That is always the character that comes out for people when they don't know what to do. Because that is what to do. Oh yeah. The gameplay and all that it's all well and good, except for this character messing everything up. I think T1K is obviously brain dead. Ghostface is a hooligan, but he's not like one of the best characters. These characters, they may be stupid, but they have issues. Like Cyrax still has problems. T1K still has problems. So does Ghostface. The gameplay.
A few weeks ago, I was watching one of Foxy's streams, and he was using Cyrax, and he was dropping more bombs than Obama did in his administration. That's all I'm just saying. But it was like, right? So,
okay, that's fair enough. People don't like assists. Fair enough. But it does open up a lot of creativity with each character. The story.
I think this is the thing too. Like, I think this is why it should have been an option mode. So that way, for people that do enjoy the assists, as he's stating, for the people that do enjoy the opening up of the stuff, of the gameplay, then they have the option there. Just like how we had tag mode in MK9.
Turd. Absolute turd. So what were you thinking? What were you thinking? That's pretty much all I gotta say. Like, new era. You've gone from MK11 showing the great Kung Lao. Liu Kang come down to the great Kung Lao. He's like, oh, you're the great Kung Lao. You're about to be the greatest. But you're not the greatest yet, but you're about to be the greatest. Blah, blah, blah. Yep. There's a whole storyline that has never been told that is very prominent and important to the entirety of Mortal Kombat. And they decide, you know what? We ain't going to do any of that. We're just going to muddle up the characters you like. Scorpion is now Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero is now Scorpion. Like, none of the fans of any of those characters want that. And now there is no Sub-Zero.
This soundtrack, is this a remix of Streets of Rage? Can somebody let me know in the comments? That sounds like fucking Streets of Rage, bro. Yeah, he's 100%. Like, I remember seeing that MK11 ending, and I thought, oh my god, we're gonna get the Great Kung Lao storyline. We're gonna see, essentially, the Big Kahuna. He is the original champion, right? Until Goro defeated him. We were going to get that storyline. We were going to probably see the formation of certain things, like, say, the Lin Kuei. Imagine we actually got to see, like, all of these big things, like the formation of the Lin Kuei, the Black Dragon, Red Dragon, you know, all that sort of stuff. Shit, man. Like, you know, maybe the Great Kung Lao, right? Now, I'd have to go back and check, because I think he was part of a monastery. But what if the White Lotus Society wasn't formed then? Right, so he was just part of a monastery, like, you know, just a normal Buddhist, you know, club, right, hanging out, getting balled together. And then what happens, right? Fucking ancient Liu Kang shows up, you know, does his little speech, and then after that, they go, right, we need to form the actual White Lotus Society. Like, why do we have a White Lotus Society? Why don't we have a fucking Red Rose Society? Why is it this particular thing, right? This is what a prequel would have done. We would have almost an entirely new roster of characters, which would have been amazing. I actually would be perfectly okay with, like, you know, them not having any sort of, like, mainstay characters to the degree if there was no reason to explain it. For example, you know, if we're doing the formation of the Lin Kuei, then, like, obviously the Shirai Ryu, what, came later? Somebody correct me in the comments. So I'd be perfectly fine with no Scorpion. Even though Scorpion's like my favorite character, I'd be perfectly fine without him being in the game initially anyway, unless you want to do an expansion story pack for that. Because we could have gotten a whole new roster of characters, but those roster of characters you could have pulled from the comics, right? Or something like that, and just gone, man, this is fucking batshit crazy. This is amazing. For God's sakes, can you bring my boys Sing and Sang? Right, for those that have read the comics, Sing and Sang is a combined monk team. Together, they form Siang, which is like this super monk with a big fucking green mohawk. Imagine that character. That would have been amazing. Imagine the type of special moves and synergy that type of character would have, right? But nah, we got slop.
Right, because Sub-Zero is Noob Saibot. And it started off with the whole tournament thing. Yeah, Raiden could have been the A F0xy champion. Even that, like, before they got up into the multiverses thing, you can get behind it. But, like, the writing in this game is not indicative of someone who cares about Mortal Kombat. It's just not. Like,
I mean, to be fair, and I could be wrong here, I've never actually heard this side of Foxy before. This is cool, man. You don't, like, this is the MK. This is the shit.
you could give this to any true Mortal Kombat fan and they would be able to make a at least palatable story. You have to actually put in effort to make a story so bad for this franchise. It's simple. Good guys, bad guys, tournament, fate of the world, right? That's what it is. And then you just tell the stories of the characters involved in the tournament. Don't have
That's the other thing too. It's like we would have also got the formation of the first tournament. Why does a martial art tournament with just fisticuffs and magic balls require to determine the fate of stopping Outworld invading Earthrealm? Why that specifically? Like, why that? Right? And how are people chosen? Right? Like, how are people chosen? Like, so for example, if you look at Star Wars, right? Before they did the whole midi-chlorians bullshit, I like the prequels in Star Wars, but man, that kind of fucked shit up for me. Right? Because the original Star Wars, 4, 5, and 6, the Force was something about, like, it felt like this, you know, how do I explain this? It was almost like, you know, like, yeah, obviously there were some gifted people. Sure, absolutely, right? But it was kind of like this thing about almost like, you know, this faith. It's like, I know I can do this. I believe in myself. You know, I have to trust. I have to put my faith, right? For those of us that are faith-based out there, you'll understand what I'm saying. Like, you're putting your faith out there and you know, having them guide you, right? And then they just went, nah, it's in your blood. A simple fucking blood test. Oh yeah, you're good, bro. You're a Jedi. Fuck, man. Right.
to do. Oh yeah, we got 10 billion infinite multiverses, and we got Quan Chi mixed with Frost, and we got Pain and Sonya mixed into one, and all that. Who cares? Because nothing matters at that point. Okay, your tournament is irrelevant. The whole point of the franchise is irrelevant. It was meant to be Jean-Claude Van Damme coming in to save the world, which then turned into Liu Kang coming to save the world, and now it doesn't really matter. They've gone too far. What they have to do is reset everything. They have to reset everything, go back to the Great Kung Lao, ignore all of the timeline stuff.
Yep.
Say we're in a timeline where we don't even know about timelines. Boom, sorted.
Yep.
Now you got yourself starting point, and you can keep the characters that are popular, like Scorpion, Sub-Zero. It may not be the same Scorpion and Sub-Zero, but even then it doesn't even matter, because you've already changed Scorpion and Sub-Zero now. So like, you could have a new Scorpion and Sub-Zero that are effectively the old Sub-Zero and Scorpion. You could keep Sindel, you could keep Katana, you could keep Shang, you could keep Quan.
See, we would even get like the origin story of the original Shang Tsung, right? And if we're going that far back, who was the ruler of Outworld? It wasn't Shao Kahn. Right? Now, me and Total had talked about this storyline idea, like how would you go about resetting it? Because people asked us, and I think we came up with a pretty good theory. Is that like kind of like the chaos, the fucking the stones, the Infinity Stones of Thanos, right? So imagine, if you will, that the fucking Kamidogu, right, that Havoc has, that looked like he's gone to like a fucking paintball session, right? The actual Kamidogu only exists from one timeline, right? And those Kamidogu, like, that is the true source. That is the absolute beginning of any and all timelines, right? And so what happens is that, like, and a Naga, right? Like, again, we're doing this as a storyline wise, right? So he actually, like, something happens, like he destroys them or something like that, right? And what it does is it actually destroys all subsequent timelines except for its original source origin, right? Because it can't destroy it. I know Thanos said in the fucking, you know, in the end games, like, I used the stones to destroy the stones. What the fuck bullshit is that? What are you talking about, bro? The fuck? I just used the stones to destroy them. What are you fucking talking about? What'd you do? Tap them together, you dipshit, right? You purple bald fuck, right? Just listen, you gotta have more of an explanation than that, right? So hopefully, Anaga would have a better explanation, and that something happens, and maybe they either try and destroy them, or they get activated. But when they're activated, what it does as an unseen consequence is that it destroys all other timelines and pulls you all the way back to the original timeline, to a fixed point. Maybe the creation of the Kamidogu at that fixed point. And the Kamidogu could have been created all the way back, well before the Great Kung Lao's timeline. That's how you fix it, right? and you use the clip from Liu Kang in the 95 movie waking up from his nightmare from Shang Tsung killing his brother. Oh, it's just a dream, bro. Is it?
Keep Shao Kahn. You could keep Reptile. You could keep Nightwolf. There's a bunch of characters that could go back tens of thousands of years and still be in the game. So why you got to be scared about messing up your roster? Jade, another one. All Edenians.
Yeah.
Ermac. Actually, maybe not Ermac.
Well. Hang on. Possibly you could get away with it with Ermac, depending on how you want to tell his story, right? He is the culmination of a bunch of warriors, right? Maybe this is always an interesting theory, right? So John Tobias, like, okay, so when we look at Armageddon, right, and it talks about in the beginning about how, you know, essentially there's too many warriors and it's tearing at the fabric of the realms. I always interpreted that as that because there's too many chosen warriors and there's too much ability, like fighting ability, drawing of magic. Imagine the magic that they're drawing to use their their actual abilities is actually being pulled from literal fabric, like the stuff that keeps our world together, the magic that essentially, like, you know, encloses us, right? But if there's too many people drawing from it, right, it starts to weaken it. Okay, so that's kind of, I completely lost my train of thought there. Fuck. Anyway, but that's kind of like how I was thinking, right? That, you know, that explanation, like, hang on, I fucking lost my train of thought. I had a banger fucking thought then. It might come back to me. But that's one thing that never got explained, right? Why is having too many fighters this dangerous, right? Oh, hang on, wait, I think it's coming back. Yes, okay, so we might get an explanation, not only with the formation of the tournament, but also, like, how these people are able to acquire their powers, right? That sort of thing. I think that was the point.
Like Goro, King Gorbak. Don't, like, if you're doing the Great Kung Lao's.
Foxy, you fucking... You've been holding out. Right, I don't hear often people talk about King Gorbak.
Story, you could have, or if it's like even before then, you could have King Gorbak. There's plenty of things to do with this franchise, and they're just trying to shovel in stuff that don't need to be there. Yeah, there's other realms that exist, so we don't need other multiverses. There's no mention, well, there's no like involvement of the Order realm. Why is Havoc in here without Hotaru? That's Yin without Yang. It doesn't even make any sense. You've got to have Hotaru if you're gonna have Havoc. Yeah. Why is Havoc Dairu?
That's
Liu Kang
terrible.
Messed up the timeline. So yeah,
Liu Kang's a fucking... Listen, Liu Kang was smoking on his peace pipe a little too much, right? He emptied out the fucking hourglass and he put something else in there. You know what I'm saying? Right? Right, that's what he fucking did with the hourglass.
That's me going like down my... I know the MK lore, right? And I'm an MK lore nerd too, but I ain't gonna go like into all the details of it. Story.
Foxy, listen, you can't keep this information from us, bro. No, I want to hear more of this, right? This is what I like. Now, this is... Dude, come on, man. Right? You have now exposed yourself of one of us, right? But this is great. This is one of the things that I fell in love with MK was the lore. It was, especially back then, it was like, you know, one of the best... It was the one of what not only one of the best, one of the few fighting games back in the arcade that was actually telling a story. Two people in the arcade.
Story, they messed up, and I'm a proper MK nerd, right? I didn't even bother playing Chaos Reigns because part 1 was so bad. There's never been a point in my life, like before MK9 came out, I was watching every single thing to do with Mortal Kombat in university all day. I kind of wouldn't even bother with my university work because I was so like infatuated with everything Mortal Kombat. I competed in MKX, still infatuated with everything Mortal Kombat all the way up, like all my life basically. And Chaos Reigns just didn't even sway me in the slightest because of how bad the story was here. So story, terrible. Towers, you know, if you know me, you know I am not a fan of towers. Online, it's too bare bones.
No rooms. Yep. Yep.
Not enough ranks. No character change. And when you mix that in with the fact that you're probably going to be playing against a million Homelanders and you can't even change character, that's an L.
What's this, by the way, what's this PS5 tournament thing at the bottom? Right, on PC, it's fucking exit. Right? Like what is that? I've never seen that before. We don't have that on PC.
See. Pro Tour is whatever for this game. Like we had it way better in MKX and Injustice 2. Let's see. The only thing that really holds this game up is community, I think. Like collectively we make the game entertaining for ourselves. We're fortunate to have people like Rips, Tweedy, your honey.
Listen, that Arab man is getting way too familiar with that camel. You know what I'm saying?
Bees and Destroyer and all that, always on it, like keeping it alive on the Twitch side of things. I know it's like it's not, we ain't League or Dota or GTA or whatever, but there's a pulse. We ain't a Discord fighter, and there are always people playing the game, so that's a positive. There are always people trying to improve, and there are always people just trying to, you know, just play the game for a laugh. So that's all good. Mortal Kombat community is a good community in gaming. Customization, Injustice 2 did it better, MK11 did it better. Practice mode, it's alright, but again, it's kind of bare bones. If you look at like Street Fighter 6 practice mode, it's superior.
I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that about Street Fighter 6.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that holds this game together is that it's got variety in its gameplay. I think that's pretty much all there is to say really about it. The only thing that holds it together is the variety in the gameplay and the community.
Yeah, we got 21 minutes left, bro, on this video. You gotta be telling me you're not over yet.
So you gotta thank people like Rips, Destroyer, Honeybee, even the ones that are shitting on it, like Mike Hollow, Fate. It all adds some sort of flavor to the game, even though it's not within the game. So like, that's my opinion on it. Hopefully.
Well, see, a lot of the things he's already mentioned in the video is exactly what sort of is exactly my key focus. See, I'm an MK fan for the whole thing, right? So I may not have obviously the skill level naturally as a pro player because I have no interest in it. And B, I'm a big MK fan, but when it comes to like the competitive side, yeah, I'm kind of, sometimes I'll dabble, sometimes I won't online, but you got to have the whole MK product, you know, because that's what sells. Like people are buying Mortal Kombat because it's Mortal Kombat, right? And you know, and if everything else around is falling apart, and then you're not going to retain people. People aren't going to be excited. So,
and this is like saying, hopefully next time they, like, online, they put more ranks in. They another thing I'd like to see is get rid of the ability to quit. This is Mortal Kombat. You got to sit there and watch yourself lose. If you lose, I sit there and watch myself lose. You see, you've never seen me quit out of a match when I lose in ranked or whatever, right? You never see that. So
I actually agree with that because there's other fighting games out there you can't quit. Like you press start and it just gives you fucking sound options, right? Like there's no way to quit. You have got to wait until the end of the fight, right? So I'm not against that, right? I'm not against that at all.
I think that's the Mortal Kombat side of me, like fan side of me. You have to see yourself die when you lose. That's the whole point. They need more customization. They need to add rooms. They definitely need help. Like the gameplay is all well and good, but they're so like they have such a talented pool of players to communicate with, and they don't communicate with them about balance. They just listen to what's going on Twitter or watch what's going on in the tournament and say, yeah, that one thing looks like it's a bit too strong, we might nerf that, and then they leave the other thing that is worse than it. It don't even make sense.
And again, I proposed this before, is that what they should do, right? And they've done this with MMOs, particular ones like Guild Wars. They've done it for a very long time. It's not hard to do. And we're talking about big open world games dealing with like hundreds of thousands of players, you know, at any given moment, depending on the game and the period in time. You have two lots of balancing things. So essentially what you do is you take a single skill, right? So say, for example, just as an example, right? Say Sub-Zero's freeze, right, is like in the PvE side, so meaning the versus the game mode or just the casual side of online play, right? Sub-Zero's freeze is like, you know, like really quick or powerful or something like that, right? And then that same skill, as soon as you go into, say, like a tournament mode, so they had that tournament thing right on the menu. This is what I'm talking about. You have a tournament side, right, that is specifically for people that sign up for it in the game, right, that become part of the pool of players that are wanting to actually play in this mode to better themselves competitively or prepare themselves competitively to then go to a tournament. And when they go to the tournament, that particular swap from, say, the PvE or casual side of the skill, and then it auto modifies to the tournament side. When they go to the tournament, that's the tournament. Like they've already practiced, they've already done this tournament side of things in the game. When they go to the tournament, it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. And they've been doing that in games for decades. I don't understand why they can't do that. Because what he's pointing out here is actually true. You modify one ability, right? But you don't think about the repercussions. Now, the original Guild Wars game has over 1,000 skills. Okay? They didn't just nerf one thing, you know, and just leave the rest to die, right? And you can even see, like, in the skill, what do you call it? The abilities. It tells you that PvE, this skill might do 100 damage, okay? But in PvP, it's 2 OP. So they reduce it down to, say, 75, right? And it auto changes. As soon as you go into that mode, it automatically swaps. You don't even have to do anything. So that way, the issue of, say, like the pro scene and the MK fan slash casual, if you want to call them that, scene, what happens is that both can coexist, right, on a 2-lane highway. So that way, we've got our cool, overpowered shit. It doesn't really matter. It's like, fucking deal with it, bro. I suck it up. It's Mortal Kombat, right? And then you got the pro side. It's like, right, this is our fine-tuned experience. And I don't want to hear people saying they can't do it. Because they can do it. And if MMOs can do it and other shooting games can do it, they can do it with this. Easily, right?
Well, like, for example, Madam Bo and Tremor, right? Madam Bo had this thing where she could still function even if you're hitting her other character. Tremor does the same thing right now. Tremor is hitting you while you're hitting them. But Madam Bo used to do the exact same thing, but they nerfed it on Madam Bo. Tremor is still there. And this is like 2 patches down the line. So they didn't even, they have to have known. There's no way you can't know. So why can Tremor do this and not Madam Bo? Yeah. Like Movado as well. They nerfed it on Movado. So why is Tremor allowed to do that? Health values is a terrible idea.
Yeah.
It makes you not want to play the characters. And when you got characters like Quan Chi who are DLC that you're paying for, and that you're going to want to play less because you're playing against all these potato homelanders or whatever, and you're on a health deficit with a worse character objectively.
Yeah, I really don't understand. Like, now correct me if I'm wrong, but has any other assist fighter out there actually had a health deficit? Like that? Because like MK should just be flat. It's just a flat number of, you know, of health for every character. And the assist character shouldn't do anything with that. And I think the reason why they changed the health values or whatever is because they're like, oh, but this character's too powerful. Look at all the cool special moves and the damage output. So therefore, we got to reduce the health to offset. And so you don't need to do that. Just reduce some of the power of the special moves. Just leave the health where it fucking is. And then you got to look at the assist characters. I've always said this, man. I remember saying this to Diddle over a year ago, right? What they should have done is that the assist characters don't actually attack on your behalf. They actually give you a buff. They give you an assist, right? I remember Ed Boon having an interview where he talked about that their original idea was that, for example, Sonya would have like a drone, and that drone would do things for her. And he's like, oh, but that'll look fucking stupid on Scorpion. It's like, dude, you don't fucking make it so Scorpion has the drone. The drone is specific to the character, which then is specific to the lore and the aesthetic of the character, which makes sense visually. But with Scorpion, you can have a little fucking Hell Demon, right? Or Sub-Zero. This is the good... I always like this one with Subby. Sub-Zero would have like this floating ice ball, like this orb that would float kind of like near his shoulder when he's fighting, right? And his assist, so when you do obviously what you're doing in the cameo, what it does is that actually, depending on the direction, it'll automatically form an ice weapon in his hand, right? That would be fucking cool, right? So you could get 3 weapons out of it, and maybe the 4th one is like an ice, you know, an ice sort of armor, right? Like, you know, like what can be applied right now from Cameo Sub. Or with Scorpion, right? Scorpion with his Hellfire, right? Maybe the demon, you know, could set Scorpion on fire, so that way when people are hitting you, they're taking damage at the same time, you know, and then the demon could also do, you know, some cool shit like, I don't know, like literally spit a fireball or something like that. These assists, right, or these cameos are completely uninterchangeable with other characters. And that way it keeps this aesthetic to the character. You're actually adding special moves to the character, right? I think that would be far easier than the system we have now.
Why are you going to give him less health? Why is Natara 900 health?
Here comes the money.
Pay to win. No, it's more like pay to lose for that. Let's see.
I got a quick question actually for those that are watching, and if Foxy watches this. Does are the guest characters more powerful? Like the guest characters more powerful, the DLC ones, more powerful than the MK DLC characters?
Yeah, they definitely need more rooms because MK11 is like 100% a more social game. People were talking to each other on that game a lot more. That I think even now, if I went on there, I could find someone talking on MK11 a lot quicker than I could find someone talking on MK1. I think.
Here we go.
Think when you're talking. Okay, so the gameplay is more creative in this game, yes. However, it is also restrictive. Because in MK11, remember how I had like only grabs, only stomps, or like you could find all these stupid ways to play the game? They got rid of all of that. There's no more things like do 100 push-ups with Rambo. There's no more only grabs, or there's no more anything like that, you know? Like it doesn't exist because the game forces you to play in a particular way.
Now listen, I'm just a filthy casual, right? Like I'm just an average dude, right? But like with my limited intelligence, I could see obviously that this is exactly the case, right? That the game, I've always said it's a car with no brakes, right? You know, and I've played a bunch of fighting games, obviously, since, I mean, I've always played fighting games, but since MK1's launch, I always come back to Grand Blue as having the best combat I've experienced in a fighting game, even above all 3 of them, because it felt like they really thought about their offense and their defense and the in-between, right? So what checks and balances, you know, do we have? And when I play Grand Blue, like I've played both casual and ranked, I've never seen like people only favoring a new DLC character, you know, and that's it. Like maybe when it first drops, they're trying it out, but ultimately, like I'm not seeing favorites like in Grand Blue. I'm just saying, like from my experience, right? I seem to be fighting the whole roster when I'm playing online.
The closest thing to like MK11 comedy that I could find is like Noob Cybot, who does back throw loops, or Gearus with back throw loops or whatever.
Is he talking about like comedy shit, like, you know, back in the day you just sit there and do sweep kicks on people and it would fuck them up because they like, for some brain dead reason they couldn't think about like duck blocking? Is that what he's saying?
But yeah, I don't know. It's a difficult one because the player in me that understands how to break down a game and see the intelligent strategy you can apply appreciates this game. But the player in me that is a Mortal Kombat fan doesn't. And
that's why, like, I'm hoping Foxy will come on the show. That's what I'm interested in. I'm very interested in how, well, now that he's exposed himself as being a giant fucking MK nerd, right? That's it, bro. It's all over. That's it. You're never getting a girlfriend again, right? That, you know, it's the pro side of thing that I'm curious about in the way that they look at a game and break it down and how they approach it, right? What do they see? Like when they're playing as a character, what are they seeing? What are they feeling, right? Do they just look at the move list and they just read the frame data? Or do they pick a character? Do they get like more of an analog feeling? Go, okay, all right, I'm starting to vibe with this character. All right, let's see how this goes and stuff like that, and then go into it. I'm very curious about that. How these people approach that.
it's a conflict. Okay, I wouldn't say doesn't. There are some cool things in this game as a Mortal Kombat fan. All right, let's have a look.
No stage fatalities, though, unfortunately.
Some people are going to hate on me for this, but I think Sector and Cyrax, well, not Cyrax, Sector, I know they gender swapped them, but Sector in this game is my favorite Sector ever. Sector's cool. Mac?
So I'm actually not going to disagree in that regard, because, like, outside of the gender swap, and I don't care for the big snot ball that Cyrax has, but it is what it is, right? I definitely would have preferred the net, but you only get the net. I believe it's enhanced. I haven't played much of her. But the special moves, like, they've given, like, so I always look at the special moves, right? Because that's what we grew up with, right? Like, MK, you just had your standard high kick and, you know, roundhouse kick and uppercut, right? So there wasn't any intricacy outside of that. But the intricacy was the special moves, like special moves that these characters got. And yeah, they loaded up, especially Sector, they loaded that fucking bitch up with basically, like, full arsenal. It's you know, they did a good job with that. I'll give them that.
Coolest he's ever been, and gameplay wise as well.
Ermac is great too. I actually really like what they've done in here with, you know, like the souls in his body that would come out, and they'd be different types of souls, like monsters doing some of his special moves as well. That's good. That's the sort of shit I love.
Actually, it's a complete win, everything they did with him. Even their spin on like how his telekinesis works. Now you can see all the spirits, and that's really cool. Kenshi, I think, is actually one of the coolest characters in any fighting game I've ever seen ever. Even though he was a nightmare to fight against, you watch, like, I could just sit there and watch Hayate playing Kenshi because it looks sick. You can see how the like I said, it's from a Mortal Kombat fan perspective and a player that can, like, see the game, how it works.
It is interesting how, like, Kenshi, you know, when you think about, like, the MK9 roster, right? And we got, like, the DLC characters, which was what did we get? We got Kenshi, we got Scarlet, we got Rain, and then obviously the two guests, depending on if you're on PlayStation, with Kratos and of course Freddy, right? But Kenshi, so I think John Tobias was asked once, he goes, "Oh, what post game, like, character after you left, essentially, do you wish you created or really love?" And from memory, I believe his answer was Kenshi, because Kenshi is, I consider, like, he is an absolute MK character. Everything from his design, his backstory, his look, you know, just everything. It's just, you know, special moves. Plus, he was the good version of Ermac, right? So we then got a telekinetic, good guy versus the telekinetic bad guy.
Good on both. That is the kind of character you should make every character in this game be. And when you compare it to like Sub-Zero, everybody that plays Sub-Zero looks like an idiot, and I know they're not. I know that Sikander is a good player. He's a great player, but he looks like an idiot on this character. Everybody on Kenshi at least looks like they're doing something kind of smart.
Fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it.
Scorpion's the same. Like Javier, amazing player, but
What are you calling poop candle? Get the
this game, Scorpion players ain't looking smart. Or like A F0xy, for example. A F0xy, ultimate Scorpion sweat. There's not too much for him to do here, even with all that creativity. Rain, like, do you know me from MK9? I used to be like a Rain. I was the Rain believer. Like I played the Rain, and then they just keep ruining him after MK9. They're ruining him. They're ruining him.
Rain was great in MK9. Rain was great.
Old Tanya was better. Old Melina was better. Kitana, she's about the same. Shang is actually sick, but designed horrifically bad for gameplay.
Yeah, so Shang, I actually really like this Shang Tsung, but it feels like he's missing a special move. He needs just another one that kind of leans into the soul stuff. Because, yeah, he's got like his swap between old and new, which is great. Great Mortal Kombat aesthetic, to the lore of the character. Love his skulls, love the fucking spikes and shit. But he doesn't really have like a soul move. Like some sort of soul-sucking,
Like, I respect the angle they took with him. He really is evil this time. Like, even more evil than before, but... yeah, they didn't do him right. And you got characters like Raiden. Why is he who he is now? Lao is not... yeah, a lot of you know me for Kung Lao. That ain't my Kung Lao. Alright? That ain't my Kung Lao.
And not just obviously like special move wise. I'm just trying to think what's the best Kong. I'd say probably MK9. I think MK9 was pretty solid. Again, just from a MK fan perspective. But I hate what they've done with the character. They've just turned him into a fucking, comic relief. I hate it. Even with Johnny Cage. Like, Johnny Cage, yeah, he's arrogant. He cracks jokes. But back in the day, like, you always get that underlying tone of he's trying to prove that he's a real martial artist. Now he's just a cultured jokist. That's it. It's not, it's just crap.
I can play him, but I know that ain't my Kung Lao.
Has he got some fucking Braveheart music playing now? Is William Wallace gonna come fucking running out of the screen?
Sure, I think is really well done.
Yeah,
really
so with Ashra, right? So I actually liked what they did with Ashra as well, because obviously like she had her spin dive move, right? But obviously they didn't want to do that with her, right? So what they did was they gave it like that apparition sort of teleport type effect where you could teleport forward and all that sort of cool bullshit, right? So I actually thought they did a really good job. One of my downsides though about MK is that over the years they've started to focus more on the weapons and what the weapons provide for special moves, right? So within Ashra's case, right, she's got her sword, right? Her was it her Chris? Is it her Chris? Right? Or that's the type of sword I think it is. Anyway, and that's the one that's shooting the special moves, stuff like that, right? And I guess lore-wise it kind of makes sense, but I kind of feel like over the years there's been a little bit too focused on certain characters with their weapons. I really would prefer definitely to get way more back onto just fisticuffs. Just fisticuffs, and that's it. So it's definitely toned down more from MK11 though, I'll give them that. But why the fuck did they give Rain a staff? What was he is he going hiking or some shit?
For Megan Fox and Tara, but it's whatever. A F0xy, I think, is awfully done. Like, he was like, hold on.
Aesthetically, he looks like some emo hobo, right? if they gave him his actual Havoc outfit, like his traditional, like 3D era Havoc outfit, I think it would suit him better. Because that is really, like, that was, you looked at it and he looked evil. Like, he really looked like you didn't want to fuck with this guy, right? His special moves, though, I actually like his special moves. I think his special moves are great. But outside of that, like, the aesthetic, yeah, he looks a little too, you know, a little too emo.
This is Havoc.
Do choices, stranger. State your intentions, or hear the shattering of your spine.
Yeah.
That is Havoc.
Yeah.
There's a...
Yeah, look at that, man.
Hey, this is your Havoc. Alright, that is Havoc, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yep, 100%.
That's what he's supposed to be.
Fuck yeah, 100. He's just fucking out of his tree. He's out of his tree, right? He's out of his trolley. He's out of the tree and the trolley.
And in this, he's a bit of a gimp. And he's not even Havoc, he's Dairu, so... Trash. Quan... He's been better. He's not terrible, but yeah.
So okay, I'll defend Quan Chi. I mean, apart from the giant beak he's got in the front of his head, right? Quan Chi looked better in other games, right? So I was playing MK9 a bit on stream last night, and then Dragoon was. Quan looks better in older games, right? He kind of... Yeah, I'm not a big fan of how he looks. No disrespect to the guy that did all the facial work and stuff for him, because he's a really cool dude. There's a bit of a story behind that too, because I think they stole his fucking likeness and they can now use it whenever they feel like. But his special moves are great. And the you know, when he does shit, like he'll do like his uppercut and certain moves, you'll have like the skeleton stuff come out. Great. Like Quan Chi, great, right? But outside of that, like, I'm not a big fan. The face throws me, right? It doesn't remind me of old Quan. You know, maybe I've just been too spoiled by, you know, Richard playing, you know, Quan back in Mythologies, and then of course we had the MK9 version and stuff. So yeah, he's and I don't like. There's not really a ferociousness to him. Like Quan Chi, so Quan Chi and Shang Tsung, they're both obviously evil. But Shang Tsung kind of... He was a little bit... How would you put it? He was kind of like, charming. Right? He had this charm to him, right? So you knew he was fucking evil. Don't turn your back on him, because he'd bite you. But he kind of had like a charm to him. Almost like he was trying to like con you. Like a con man. Whereas Quan Chi, I always felt he was just like the metal version. He was just like straight up, just fucking savage, you know, far more upfront, you know, with shit than Shang. And it was a good offset. It was a good offset.
Yeah, he's been better.
Hey, Garrus.
Garrus is pretty cool, but he's only got one up.
Nah, Garrus is shit. Garrus is not an MK character. I've always felt that. Garrus doesn't feel like an MK Universe character. The Collector, of all the characters that they put in MK11, the Collector was the only one aesthetically felt like an MK character. It felt like we were getting another monster in the roster, right? So I wasn't a big fan of his special moves, but outside of that, visually, I thought the Collector felt like an MK character. You know, like we were getting another monster type. Didn't care for Devora. If they made Devora sexy sounding, instead of sounding like you were putting a penis through a buzzsaw, I'd be perfectly happy with Devora. But her voice literally makes my dick itch, right? I can't find my... It's like, where's my penis? Oh, that's right. It's hiding behind my balls. That's the fucking voice. It is just awful. And I understand why she sounds like that, because she's a bug bitch. But I don't give a fuck, right? Can you please make her sound sexy if you're going to bring back, right, the Bug Queen? Please. Garrus looks like a character that should be in another fighting game. He looks like it and plays like a fighting game character that should for something else, not MK.
thing to compare to. Baraka is like, this is the best Baraka's ever been, I think, as well.
Like, maybe aesthetically, sure. But I must admit, I'm kind of partial to MK9. Yeah, because like we were watching it last night, and I think I prefer. I don't like the fact that they changed his Blade Fury to just spamming a button. He's not fucking E Honda or Chun Li, where you just spam the button and eventually you'll get the right. I don't like that. I you know, it's little things like that. Like, for example, in MK11, I would have mained Scorpion over Cabal, but they fucked Scorpion. Why? Because they made his spear move, his harpoon, because technically that's what he's doing. He's harpooning you and then pulling you in. An auto attack. That killed it. After decades upon decades of Scorpion move being a certain way, it'd be like suddenly one day Sub-Zero's freeze doesn't freeze you anymore, and it just knocks you back, right? Why the fuck did they make an auto attack is beyond me, right? And so that killed it. That was it. Scorpion was out for me, right? I didn't give a shit about the character because they changed a staple part of what made the character, you know? And so then I just went straight to Cabal, because Cabal was one of my favorites when MK3 roster was introduced. He was fantastic. You know, a great addition to the roster of MK characters back in MK3. And so I just used Cabal, right? But when they brought Scorpion back, I was happy. I actually don't mind his special moves in this. You know, technically he's got his... One of my favorite Scorpion moves is the leg takedown, which is introduced first in MK2, right? And I always loved it because when I used to train and in movies and stuff, I always liked it when like the martial artists would do moves that would essentially get them on the ground with like really flashy looking kicks, right? So you do like a forward sweep kick, like ground sweep kick, or you do the one where you do a spinning ground sweep, but also the leg takedown as well. And anytime the game hasn't had it, I kind of feel like I'm missing it, like I'm missing something. But technically he has it because he's using his essentially his is it the kunai? It's not his actual spear, his rope spear. He's actually using his other one on his hip, I believe. So when he's throwing it out, he is doing a leg takedown. It's just they're using the weapon to do it rather than him with his own legs. And that's what I mean when I say that they're starting to use their weapons a little bit more. Like Mortal Kombat, the fighting tournament. And this is one of the things I wasn't a big fan of, even the 95 movie. I wasn't a big fan of it, this part. When Liu Kang fights the dude with the dreads with the bow staff, wasn't a big fan. I know it's a show of, you know, it's cool and looks cool on cinema and stuff like that. But Mortal Kombat is just hand-to-hand stuff with the magic abilities. When you start introducing weapons, that's when I start to go, ooh, you know, that's not what it's really about, really, right? Even with Kano, when he pulled his knife out. Yeah, sure, Kano's not going to fight fair, so you could argue that. But yeah, anyway, let's move on.
Smoke, completely lame.
So I'm going to defend Smoke a little bit here. Again, I'm not from... I like his kicks. He's like cool kicks. It kind of reminds me of like, say, MK9. MK9 Smoke is probably the best. Because... So here's the thing. I said this the other week. Smoke needs just one more special move, and he would be great to play. And that's just some sort of horizontal, like his knife, right? He's got the upward one. He should have one that he throws forward. Okay, and then whatever you want to do, an enhancement that. It's the same with Cage, right? I don't like it when a character in MK Universe does not have a projectile. They've got to have a projectile. This is standard MK stuff, right? As standard as it would be to have a fatality, right? Every single character has to have a projectile. Now, to be fair, I've also argued the point that technically what Smoke does is he becomes the projectile with his teleport, right? So when he does his teleport and he appears behind him and comes down like that, technically, sort of, maybe if you look through this lens, it's a projectile. Because he becomes the projectile and then drops himself, right? He's sending himself to do the damage rather than sending something from him to do the damage. But at the same time, I think that he would benefit from just a single added special move, and that would just be like a straight knife throw. Yeah, you could enhance it, so maybe it like, you know, when he throws it, they kind of get stunned, you know, or when it hits, it explodes in a thing of smoke, and it blinds them, you know, in an enhanced version. That's it. Some of these characters are just missing like one, maybe two special moves, and it would feel like they're complete characters, like the DLC characters feel.
Character shouldn't even exist because he's so lame, like it's painfully lame. He needs to be Shao Kahn. Even actually,
Yeah,
General Shao is fine, but yeah, he doesn't have that same sort of like aura about him. He's been better.
I would argue, right? You can get away with it with Shang Tsung because he's still a humanoid size. But when you start having boss characters as playable characters, you have to take into account their size and their damage output, right? Which means you got to reduce them, right? You got to reduce their presence. Now, Shao Kahn was a lot more intimidating in MK11 for sure, in terms of like a character that's playable. But if you want to get down to it, like MK9 Shao Kahn was like fucking frightening. Like he was a monster to fight against, right? And the presence of him and the size of him. Same with Goro, same with Kintaro. Like these characters, you know, I think should stay as boss characters. Yeah, look, if you want to unlock them as just a fuck around, like say when they made him available in MK Trilogy, sure, have some fun, right? Or I've got the boss mod for MK9 where I can play as the boss characters, do all their special moves, fatalities, you know, as a fuck around. Right? As a fuck around. Just like Floyd. What they should have done with the Definitive Edition is made Floyd, they should have put that pink fucker smack bang on the front of the box with Definitive Edition. Everyone would be like, who the fuck is this character? Make him unplayable. See that question mark in the middle of the screen there? Just stick that fucking pink bitch right in the middle. Broken and all. Now, obviously in the tournament scene, I'm assuming here that naturally he would not be a contender. Unless they had a Floyd, they should have a Floyd only contest. That would be fucking amazing, right? That'd be actually pretty cool to watch. But put him in there. Just give him the character. Give us the character. He's fully playable. We know this because I did it on a stream using the MK1 hook mod. He's amazing. He's an absolutely amazing. And why is he amazing? Because he feels like a classic MK ninja, right? Here's a different take on Chameleon because Chameleon can't control the transitions between the different ninjas, whereas Floyd has special moves, so he's like a Shijinko. He has special moves from all the ninjas, and he can do whatever he wants with them. He can freeze, harpoon, teleport, slam. It's fucking great. Just put that pink bitch in the fucking middle there and let people have some fun with this game, right? That'd be amazing. And I know people complain online. Like, so for example, in ranked, you lock him out. Yeah, just lock him out, right? Like, I think that's fair. But in casual, right, have some fun. Now, obviously, like, they would tune his balance, like, you know, obviously, you know, they would make it so he doesn't say, for example, move as fast, you know, or if his damage output's a little too high. Just nerf it a bit when it comes to PvP. Again, going back to my original idea about having, you know, special moves that have, like, a two-tier system, right? One broken for casual, one tuned for, obviously, online play. But in this instance, I would probably just nerf him a bit, so that way he's not as OP and as overpowering as he is when you fight him, but he's fucking a brand new ninja, and then we'd have all the fucking ninjas, right, including a brand new one, and it'd be amazing, dude.
Lee was okay. He could have been a bit. He could have been more.
She needs another special move, just something else.
Character with potential. Isn't she from the village where like didn't her realm get taken over by Shao Kahn and she wants to destroy basically everything he's doing? All of everything was destroyed.
She needs another special
yeah,
move.
She's a cool character. I
Another
think, but
special move.
Could have been done better.
I think she needs one more special move, and I think she'd be alright. Maybe two.
I think it probably ties into the overarching theme that this game is too like light. Talking gameplay wise or story, I think story. Gameplay wise, she's okay as well. She's not like. She could have had more stuff.
Like the aesthetics when she.
This ties back into.
Like the aesthetics of her special moves look really fucking cool, right? And I like the lanterns like setups and stuff that you can have as well. But it feels like she's just missing a couple of extra, maybe one. I'm gonna say maybe a couple of extra special moves, right? Look back at her previous iterations and go, have we brought all of them forward? I'd have to double check to make sure if they have or not, and go, what else can we add? You know, what else can we add just to give her just that little bit more oomph.
To my point, they got a very large, talented pool of players that they could talk to that they don't. They could help them make or advise some way to turn the things that they do have into cool characters. If you watch.
So I would. So I'm not a big fan. Like, you know how they'll add like, oh, they got a forward 4 now. That's not a special move to me. That's just another standard attack. Right, you're pressing a direction, you're pressing one button. That's not a special move. When I say special move, I mean fireball. You know, multiple kick move, like a Liu Kang bicycle kick, that sort of thing, right? Now, we'll say there obviously are some good people in the esports scene, and now that Foxy has exposed himself as being a giant fucking MK nerd, he also would pull from that pool of knowledge from previous games and go, yep, you know, what about these special moves? What if we add them, you know, into that? And also, you will also have like the MK fan side of things, you know, like a Total MK or whatever, who looks at the lore and looks at obviously the rest of the game, which now obviously Foxy's exposed himself as doing as well, right? Because that's what makes the character. You know, you can add whatever you want to a character, but if it doesn't make sense or it feels like it breaks the immersion of the character, then it'll never work.
The fantasy patch I was making the other day, I have some cool ideas for Lee May that would make her a lot more entertaining to play, right? This is another thing, like your characters are a bit like, they sort of had an idea, went with it, and then just either forgot the idea or didn't know how to use their idea properly. Like Lee May, they were like, okay, we're giving her a lantern, and this lantern stops you from being able to jump, and it's a combo extender at the same time. Why isn't there more things focused on the lantern other than the only time you see the lantern applied like reasonably is if you just throws it out in neutral. Right now there's a lantern you can't jump for like a second or two, or it's in a combo. Why is there no way for her to set up a lantern and use it? Like, she's got a move where she blows it up for pressure on that. Why is there no way she can like set it up off of a throw, or like do some strike mind game to blow it up on block and get more?
I must admit, I'm not a fan of continued attacks from a throw. Maybe I'm just old, but I'm not a big fan of, like, you know, because you know, they do a throw, and then depending on the type of throw it is, they can then add on combos from it. I'm not a big fan of that. I kind of always think of the throw as a one and done. Like, you get thrown on the ground, you get up, right, fine. Just like most other fighting games. But in MK, with what they did with this, because I always think of that one where, like, is it that Kung Lao, the forward one when you've got cameo Kung Lao, I believe it is, where, you know, he does the teleport throw, you know, and then because it, like, yeah, it sets you up, and I'm not really a big fan of that.
Pressure. There's more things you could do.
But as far as the lantern goes, yeah, I know what he's saying, right? You could do something more with the lanterns, right? Maybe you can make them explode, right? Maybe one of her special moves is she literally she kind of like, you know, throws a lantern, like she has a particular type of lantern that she throws and explodes on impact and knocks you up, you know, or something like that.
With a lantern, there's more things you could do with Ashra's stance. There's more things you could do with Chang's morph things, you know what I mean? Like, there's more shit you can do with all of these characters, like blood sacrifice. There's so much stuff you could do. So with Natara, I didn't like the idea that you had to activate the well. I'm just calling it the well, right? That she puts on the ground, the symbol, to then do her other move. It feels fucking like, it just feels like an extra step, right? I know in World of Warcraft,
I'd have to double check on the Frost Mage, but you could put down essentially a circle, like a rune, right? You put it down, and then if you're in that rune, your abilities like will do more damage, or maybe freeze them longer and stuff like that. That works in an MMO because it's essentially, and no offense, because I love playing MMOs, but it's a slower paced game, right? You know, you're not locked in a 2D plane, and there's no way out, right? You got a full 360-degree movement to figure out your game plan, and so you can drop the rune, and you know what, if they're closing the gap on you, you know, and you don't feel like you're gonna kill them in time, you can just fucking move, or you can blink and get away from them, right? Which is another mage ability. So, but in a fighting game, you know, you know, she does the rune, and then she's got the move available, and I kind of don't like that. I prefer that the rune itself is something that you cast at their feet. You cast it at their feet, you know, and it starts to like drain their health. Okay, so then they got to move out of the way of it, right? So you're setting it up, right? You're forcing them to do something, right? Getting them out of their comfort zone, and then she just has the blood thing available to her. You know, like it's sort of, yeah, I don't know. It'd be, yeah, I don't know, man. And I feel like maybe, I think she's got that blood fucking spit thing as well. I'd probably enhance that too. You know, with Reptile, where they gave him kind of like his big spit, right? And then they made it so if you hold the button down for like half a second, he then does the actual ball spit. I'd do that with her, right? So that she could actually do a blood ball from that move, or just have the standard spit as well.
Things with Ermac flow, man. Ermac is actually, Ermac is right. He's right. See what else is there to go on about? Warrior Shrine. Who cares, right? I'm on the Warrior Shrine. I don't care. Like, that shouldn't have taken a year for us to know about. Let's see, who is, you got Tweedy up there. Young Monster's a nerd and is on there twice. All right, we'll go back to season 1, right? Season 1 of Warrior Shrine. Land cable FGC, that's me. I don't care. Oh wait, and I'm on the Sonya assist thing. Boom. But I don't care. No one cares, actually.
The Warrior Shrine, what was my original idea? I was hoping for the Warrior Shrine. Oh, that's right. I thought the Warrior Shrine would be like a shop, like another like in-game shop that you could purchase like Combat League gear from, you know. So if you couldn't get the Combat League gear from playing, but as a collector, you were able to get a currency in the game that you could then use to purchase that sort of stuff. Because somebody that's buying these cosmetics aren't buying it to then go online and play. They're buying it as a collector. They want to, they want to complete their collection for whatever character or characters they're playing or really like. So that's why, like, you know, that's what I thought it was. And then they did this. After all of that time, this is the best that they could come up with.
You could have done so much more to make ranked a better experience and casual match a better experience. We don't have training mode practice to start. We need training mode search for a match. I mean,
yeah.
MK Tom Brady Jr. That's Tweedy. So there's Tweedy, Bokey, me, Hunt. I don't know who GMC is, but yeah. I don't think anyone really knows or cares about this feature. We don't have a crypt even.
No, they got rid of that shit too.
The only people that really know or care about this feature are the people that seem to be on there repeatedly. So I'm guessing El Kakoi, Young Mon.
See, one of the things I've been saying for this whole time, which obviously, you know, is hard for people to hear because they see a guy rant and raving like, the fucking old days were better. Well, they fucking were better, weren't they? right? I don't want to be right about this sort of stuff, but unfortunately, though, I see the pattern of behaviors of NetherRealm and the things that it feels like they're prioritizing, and I can hear in Foxy's voice like the disappointment, right? So maybe from a gameplay-wise perspective, it's you know, to a degree, like maybe they're having fun. Like for that particular scene, they're like, right, we got the game to where it is. And I think Foxy told me once that like it takes them a good couple of years to get this stuff sorted out. But from a consumer point of view, I don't want to wait 2 years. So for example, Doom the Dark Ages, I was going to stream it. I tried streaming it. It took 2 hours to come out on Steam after the release time schedule. And then it just kept freezing. And it's still freezing for me. Now, my rig can handle it. I got a 14900K with a 4090. Right, that thing would eat it for breakfast. And despite that, I'm getting these constant freezes. It doesn't matter if I've uninstalled the graphics card drivers with DDU. It doesn't matter if I've rolled back to old drivers. It doesn't matter if I've enabled VSync. It doesn't matter if I turn off frame generation. It doesn't matter if I've turned off DLSS. It doesn't matter. Why? Because the software is jank. Right, the game is jank, and it is causing major problems across the board, and they have got to fix it. Now imagine somebody saying to me, well, don't worry, Fate, you'll be able to play it in 2 years' time. That's unacceptable, right? Not just obviously from a gameplay point of view, from just the whole perspective of the product, right? That is absolutely unacceptable. Now, obviously, when a new game comes out, people get excited, and then you're going to have people like me who while as a massive MK fan, and Total MK and others, we also can be critical and go, listen, something's off, right? And some people don't want to hear it. And I understand that, sure, but at the same time, we all have free will, and we don't have to click on anyone's video to hear these sorts of opinions. But I do, like, the only way that things get fixed is if you are critical. Now, if you like the stuff, sure, but that doesn't mean that because you like it, means that the person that doesn't like it is wrong. Both can be correct to a degree. But fundamentally, like, it's obvious, and this should be a very big learning, like, lesson with this particular game, is that despite their touting of sales and sales chart positions and download chart positions and stuff like that, there is a great sadness, there is a great emptiness when it comes to this game.
Monster. Candyman, on there twice. He's literally on here twice. Young Monster's been on here. Look, he's twice as Candyman.
How do you guys are getting the different usernames on console? Is it still the same? Like on Steam, it's easy to fucking change the username, right? I could do it right now like that. On console, are you just creating a whole new profile, or can you literally just go in and change your username?
Again, you know what I mean? Like, no one cares. No one cares. Like, they're just people that are playing the game a lot. Tweedy's on there again. See, Tweedy is playing the game a lot. Elka is playing the game a lot. I'm playing the game a lot. Yeah, no one cares about all this. Never cared about the crypt. All right then, make a conquest mode. Mortal Kombat is a very it's an expansive universe, even without the multiverses thing.
Yep.
You got so many realms. Hold on, let's have a look.
So originally, right? Technically, if we go all the way back, there was only 2 realms. Okay, we had Earth Realm, and then the only realm that we knew about for a very long time, I believe up until the 3D era, was 2 other realms. Technically 2 other realms, right? We had Outworld, and then, as I think it was explained by John Tobias once, that Edenia, or somebody else explained it, that Edenia is in Outworld. So think of it like another continent. That's Edenia, right? It wasn't that the whole thing was Edenia and then it became Outworld. Outworld was Outworld, and Edenia was like, you know, over here, right? And then of course the Netherrealm, right? So essentially you had three realms, right? If you will. You could argue, I suppose, I mean, whatever the Elder Gods realm is, I guess, you know, but I don't think they ever named anything. They never named the Elder Gods where the Elder Gods actually reside, did they? I don't think they did. We've always had Earthrealm, Outworld, Netherrealm, right? Because Netherrealm obviously tied in with Scorpion, right? And then Quan Chi. Okay, but that was it. We never had like anything else. Maybe up until obviously like mythologies, I suppose, because mythology I'd have to double check. But was Quan Chi, were they in you know, that would have been was that the Netherrealm in mythologies where you went to see Quan Chi and all these hot bitches? Right? I don't know. Anyway.
Mortal Kombat realms. Earth realm, Outworld, Netherrealm, Edenia, Chaos realm, Order realm. All right, and then you got other things going on. That the heavens, you got Zatara and Oshtek. Then you got subsections in all of those. There's so many things you could do. You don't even need to make new things. You can just work on things that haven't been explored.
Yeah. I must admit, when they included Natara as a vampire, it was very jarring. Because it kind of didn't feel like... It's like, what, now we're just including, like, mythological type creatures? You know, are we going to get a werewolf one day, perhaps? You know, that sort of thing. I wasn't, like... I mean, yeah, she's fucking hot, great, whatever, right? But, like, it kind of felt very jarring. And, of course, obviously, the 3D era really cemented, you know, these other realms. I wouldn't mind scaling back, to be perfectly honest, it being just Earthrealm, Outworld, Netherrealm. I perfectly, and yeah, obviously, as Foxy said, the heavens, right? But essentially, like 3 realms that we literally can navigate. I wouldn't mind that sort of like that more simple life, because you know, with that, you can do great things. You can really, you know, even within that, you could do great things, right? And then maybe, sure, maybe the other realms, perhaps. Because obviously you have to then explain the you know, Hataru, Havoc, Darius, Dairu, you know, explain all these characters, you know, so, and where they come from. But yeah.
And they won't do it as well. This is the thing that's not going to happen. Like the Shokan, the Motoka, the Taka, they did okay with. Yeah, there's a lot you could explore. They just kind of dilly-dally around Special Forces and Shaolin too much, I think.
Yeah, I didn't like the focus on Special Forces. No. Now, to be fair, if anyone's read the Special Forces comics back in the 90s, if you implement that, that'd be cool. Because you also got brand new characters that were created, like Vapor, in that universe, which was amazing. And then they created also new Black Dragon characters as well. You know, so again, as I've stated many times, they have a massive pool of MK characters to pull from, even from the NPC / non-playable universe, that would just be absolutely phenomenal, right? You could continue to bulk up and build up the roster by using those characters, and they just don't. Hydro, obviously, Hydro is a long-time fan favorite as well.
And I'm saying that as a character, like as a player whose favorite character is Shaolin. Like, there's more to this whole universe. Why do we not know why Shang Tsung is Shang Tsung? That's kind of an important question, don't you think? The biggest, baddest guy in the franchise, according to what you're doing at this point, we don't even know who he is. Like,
Yep.
The only thing about Shang Tsung that I think has ever been said is from MK Conquest.
Yeah.
When he had basically the TLDR is he was an Earthrealm warrior, and he was banging this chick Amesius, and he was.
It's always the fucking women, isn't it? All the way back to Adam and Eve. It's always the fucking women, damn. Just
protect Earthrealm in the tournament. I think he got messed up, and then Shao Kahn taught him how to steal souls, and he's like, "Yeah, I can get behind that." And then he became a bad guy because he had to keep stealing souls to retain his youth and strength.
that was a great show, man.
But
a great Shang Tsung too.
Effectively non-canon. So our big bad is literally just Yeah, I'm here. I steal souls. But he don't even steal souls anymore. Actually, he don't even steal souls anymore. So
No, he's a fucking pharmacist. Like literally, I'll go to the chemist and like fucking Shang Tsung will be behind the counter taking my prescription. Right, he's a fucking pharmacist. This is, you know, Total MK, right? We talked about this last night and he's mentioned it himself. Total MK is the only person in the community that pointed out the focus on needles, bowls of like essentially weed, and pills in MK1. Right? I find that really, like, I don't like it. Okay. Now, from the Shang Tsung point of view, I can, like, it's kind of cool in a way that, like, yeah, he's got these blades that come down, but they're also essentially like injectable type devices, so that way he can poison you as he's fighting you, right? So, like, I actually don't mind that side of thing. But Foxy's right. He's not even, like, taking souls. You know, where's the sorcery side of Shang Tsung gone?
what's he doing? Yeah, there was I think it's a character that inspired by Raicho. There was a character called Master Cho in MK Conquest, and he was Shang Tsung's master, and he was like double hard, triple hard bastard, old man sort of thing, and he was trying to not teach Shang because he knew how to steal souls, and he was doing it, but he didn't want to teach anyone else because he knew that it was gonna mess them up. And eventually Shang was like, how are you so powerful and why are you not teaching me? And he was like, I can't teach you. And eventually he just goes to Shao Kahn and asks him, and Shao's like, yeah, I can teach you how to live forever. And
Man, listen, Foxy, I can't, like, we can't undo this. The bell has been rung. We can't undo the ring, right? You giant fucking MK nerd. How am I only finding out about this now? You're a connoisseur of conquest? Yeah, we know why you're a connoisseur of conquest, right? Even the fucking ugly witch in the forest was hot, right? Conquest is an amazing show. For a variety of reasons.
he teaches him how to live forever, and he becomes Shang Tsung. He corrupted his own heart for stealing someone else's soul, and that was it. Like a crackhead hitting the pipe the one time and he's hooked. That's it. Yep. It's over. He's a soul head. Yeah, exactly. And then there's other characters that you could do origin stories as well. Sindel.
Yeah.
Kitana. Jade. They're all over 10,000 years old. Oro. King Gorbak, like I was saying earlier. Raiden. Actual Raiden.
Yeah, not delivery boy Ray. And listen, I'm not being racist when I say it. It's just a fucking joke, right? But like, he just like the thing is though, like he gets his power from a fucking like drink coaster. I know what the fucking amulet is. I'm just, you know, but like, it's, you know what I mean? Like Raiden is the fucking, like, he is the element. Right? Remember in the 95 movie, he literally became the element. You know, and was like kicking the shit out of Scorpion and Sub-Zero on fucking Shang Tsung's yacht, right? And then he like forms back as Raiden. That's Raiden, right? Not fucking drink coaster boy. Now, to be fair, I liked the character in the game in terms of like story. Like it was kind of cool in a way, but I think it should have been a different character, someone else, perhaps. And again, they could have taken all this energy and given us the Great Kung Lao storyline.
Quan Chi Origins, they sort of did here, so he sort of got it covered. Great Kung Lao, the most important character in the whole franchise, yep. And we know nothing about him.
Yep. And again, if you go back and you read the comics, we had like Sing and Sang, which were the monk brothers that would merge to create Siang. Dude, people will go fucking nuts over that. I have a video on my channel where Ed Boon on Twitter had highlighted a character behind. So there's that trailer. I think it was the Sendell General Shao trailer where they're walking out of the portal, right, onto Edenia or Outworld or whatever, and he highlights somebody in the background. He's like, "Who's this?" or some shit, right? It was fucking no one. Like, I'm sick of Ed Boon's trolling bullshit, right? Stop being a tard. I thought because he was bald, it was one of the Sang brothers, like one of the Monk brothers, either Sing or I can't remember which one, Sing or Sang, right? And in the comics, they formed this really fucking cool monk character with the mohawk called Siang. And you would have had characters like that if you did the Great Kung Lao storyline. You know, you could have pulled from you could have just looked at the fucking your history and gone, dude, we can make the coolest shit. But no, we got fucking basically they just got regurgitated slop.
Yeah, that's my perspective on things about the game. Is there anything else I missed? DLC, guest characters. I play a lot of guest characters in these games, right? In MK11, I was playing Rambo, Terminator, RoboCop. Don't really play them in this game, to be fair, but I think when like half of your DLC is guest characters, that's too much influence.
Yeah. And the question is, are you playing as the DLC characters just because they've got like good moves for, like, say, for example, competing, or is it like, because I find guest characters, they break the immersion of the game. Like from an MK perspective, they break the immersion of the game. You know, they just especially the superhero type characters, they don't fit aesthetically even at all. You know, and then you got a fucking cop on the roster, a guy in a bed sheet, and fucking the fucking guy that went to a Diddy party. Look at him all up over there, right? Like, you know, it's obvious that Warner Brothers are pushing their franchises. You know,
that's definitely too much.
For who though? Who?
Influence.
Who's it for?
And they don't fit Mortal Kombat. Omni-Man, Peacemaker, and Homelander, they're all Injustice characters.
Yep.
Really.
Yep.
Ghostface and T-1000, and even Conan, yeah, they're Mortal Kombat characters. I get that. These three, nah. And watch them next release Injustice 3, and they'll do some guest character, and it'll probably be some totally unrelated thing.
Actually, you know what? I think they'll reuse the assets. I think I would not be surprised if they put the 3 superhero characters in if they do an Injustice game, that they put them in there. And then it makes perfect sense. Right? Given the way that the combat is in MK1 and the flighty type mechanics and flying all over the screen, if you literally did an Injustice mod of this entire character roster, right? Because if you notice something, I don't know if you guys have noticed this yet or not, load up Injustice 2. And what's the layout of the character, like the character select screen? It's pretty much like this. It's all along the bottom. Very similar styled, you know, boxes. Right? If you literally did an Injustice mod of this entire roster, right? And you get in game and you're fighting, you have Injustice 3.
Maybe it'll just be like Mortal Kombat and they'll put Scorpion in again, or Sub-Zero. Like they did Scorpion, then they did Sub-Zero and Raiden. They'll put like Tana and Melina in, and it'll just be a waste.
Yeah.
Or Liu Kang, you know? Yeah, we got 2 Supermans in an MK game. And in the Injustice games, nobody likes Superman. That's crazy.
Yeah. So this is a really good video. Foxy completely exposed himself. That's it. You're a fucking giant nerd, right? But no, this was a good video. And this is the thing, right? Like some of us, like some of us have known about this for a really long time, right? And you know, some people, I'm not saying Foxy's, but I'm just saying in general, like some people, you know, I don't know if they're afraid to admit that it's bad or whatever. Now, obviously, people can like it too. Like, I don't care if people like it. Never did. But you always got to be honest. You've always got to, you know, go, listen, look, I can understand if you like this, but, you know, when you've got a wealth, and obviously Foxy has proven that in this video, when you've got a wealth of the MK universe, right, of knowledge, and you look back at the previous stuff, and then you look at what we got now, yeah, there is a massive drop in quality of almost across the entire board. Sure, they've got a different graphics engine. You know, it's a beautiful looking game in terms of detail, but it's like a postcard, right? Like, yeah, that looks great on the piece of paper. But I don't feel like I'm part of the game. I don't feel like I'm really feeling the visceral world of MK in this particular game. So anyway, guys, I'll leave it there. Let me know what you think. Catch you next time.